Has this ever happened to you? Like you see an ad for basically an EA that promises about 5 to 20% a month and you're pretty excited, and then you go ahead, you spend a couple $100 and then you plug it into your account, and then next thing you know, it blows your account. But you don't give up just yet. You see it again, you kind of go about it again, you maybe buy a different one, and then you kind of start creating this pattern of getting into these ads that tell you they're going to make XX amount of percentages per month, or you start, reading about people that actually bought them and they're making so much money with them. So guess what? You follow the same path. You buy, spend money, try it, blow your accounts, see the next ad, you go back to that other EA, you buy it, try it, test it, blow your account. Have you ever wondered why this keeps happening to you? It's a very simple reason, and a lot of people, what they're really looking for, it's not an EA that makes them money. It's something easy that they don't have to do any effort to make it work. They just buy it, plug it in, They think because they're spending so much money on it, it must work. And they're promising it, on their ads and people talking about it. So why wouldn't it work for me? I'm going to tell you today why it doesn't work, and also some of the things you can actually implement to have EAs actually work for you. First of all, let's just go over the pattern, right? So you see ad number 1 here, right? And then you see that it promises 5 to 20% a month. And they have some people, kind of like talking about it, giving you like testimonials like, yeah, it works, I haven't touched anything and it just works great, right? So guess what? You go ahead and buy it. So you buy it for, let's say, $500, right? And then you plug it into your account. So because they tell you it's plug and play, so you plug in, you see it get some results, right? That's the key. You see it some results, so minimum results, and then guess what happens next? You wake up the next day, it's basically negative, or you blow your account, which is what I see most. So basically this whole process is basically what everyone else does when they're trying to find that magic strategy, that magic algorithm that's going to make them money without them knowing anything, right? So guess what they do next? You will think, damn, they blow the account, right? They blown the account, they've blown their personal funds, or they've blown a challenge, yet another one. So you think they learned from it and they're just going to maybe study actually how to trade and take the time to learn it. But no, they see ad number 2. And guess what? It promises the same thing, right? 5 to 20%. You buy it, and maybe this time you're spending a little bit more, right? Maybe it's $900 and you're like, hey, man, this is going to work. You plug it in, you see results for a day, right? And then guess what happens? You've blown the account once again. And again, this is something that actually happens every single day, believe it or not, right? Look how much money they're spending. They're spending 500 here, 900 here. Guess what's going to happen the next time someone talks or posts about a bot or an EA that makes them even 2 to 3% a month? They're going to take this formula, they're going to repeat the percentages, they're going to buy it again, spend more money, they're going to plug it in, they're going to see minimal results, and their account will be blown at some point. Now, why does this happen? Have you ever wondered why? It's not because the EA doesn't work. It's not because they're promising you insane results, right? That has something to do with it. But it's most likely because what they're selling you has not been tested in depth. And that's one of the biggest problems. People think they can just buy something, for trading, plug it in, and make them 5% a month without them doing anything for the rest of their lives. Think about it. If you were to find something like that, why wouldn't banks or all these hedge funds use it, right? They're making 5% a month. You don't have to do anything for the rest of your life. Just plug it into all these millions of dollars and call it a day. Let's go out and never work again one day in our lives, right? Wrong, right? They're not doing it because it's not real. It doesn't exist. These things exist to grab the attention of the people that don't know trading, that are looking for an easy route, right? That have no knowledge of any data or any back testing or any strategy. They're just telling you, hey, it's made 20% in the last year, right? You're seeing the track record. You go on the MyFX book and you see all these things. And you're like, man, this is very convincing. But guess what? That's under a control environment. That has so many variables to it. The MyFX book can be manipulated. Are you looking at the drawdown? Most of these things have 40, 50, 60% drawdown. Are you okay achieving 60% drawdown on your accounts in order to achieve 5% a month, right? So that means if you have 10 grand, your account went down all the way to 4 grand before it went back up. Are you okay with that? You wouldn't pass any challenges account. You wouldn't pass anything. You wouldn't grow your money fast. You will always be a nervous wreck, right? Because you're worried that your account will blow up at some point. That is what these EAs do to you. It is not because they don't work. It is because the process, how they're given to you, does not work. They're sold to you as a plug and play. And the plug and play system and trading does not work. You have to be constantly updating with the markets. The market changes. Just because the market went up all month last month, it doesn't mean it's going to continue to go up. Or just because it went down all month last month, doesn't mean it's going to continue to go down. So you need a way to always be adapting. And sure, now there are AI bots and AI EAs and all of this, but that still fails because, again, it's driven by the plug and play vision and mind. And who do they target? People that don't know trading, people that think that plugging in something is going to make them 5% a month without them doing anything again, which is completely wrong. It's actually been working for the last 2 years, right? So this is the process of how you get these EAs, these bots to actually work for you. First of all, you have to have a process, right? So what does a process for EA trading looks like? You have established routine. You have a certain rules in place to make that happen every single month, every single week, depend how much you're testing, right? So your process should look like this. Your process should include an EA. You should have an EA that's actually working, that has been proven to work, that other people are using, that actually gives them result. The second thing is you have to have a routine, right? We already got out of the way that these EAs and bots need constant changing in order to give you the returns you're looking for, right? So all of that falls under routine. If you don't have a routine, you're never going to get anywhere. The third thing you need is a workflow, right? So what does that workflow look like? Does that mean you're testing every month, every 6 months, every year, right? What does that workflow look like to you? The other thing that you need is the right mindset. So it's not hard to say that in trading in general, you need the right mindset, you need the right psychology. So that actually applies to EA or bot trading as well, because you need to be okay when your EA or your bot has your account down to 3%, right? Are you gonna freak out? Are you gonna disconnect everything and then everything's just gonna go, down the drain because you had one instance where that happened, right? No. So you need to work on your mindset. Now, I have all these rules that I've created over the years to deal with that specific issue, which I'm gonna talk about after this. So you have the EA, right? You have the proven EA, you have a proven routine, you have your workflow, you have your mindset. Now, these are the 4 things that I believe get you to be successful. When using EA trading or any type of bots, you need to have these things, right? Again, let's recap on these. You have to have a proven EA, proven it actually works. It's not a scam, right? That it works, right? It has customizable inputs. So you can actually test for these type of inputs and then let MetaTrader 5 or MetaTrader 4 give you back what it's been working, right? You want to have all these things in order to that. Routine. What does your routine look like, right? Are you testing every week? Are you testing every month, like I mentioned, or every year? So how often are you testing, So testing is a big part of it, right? So how often are you testing? Now, another thing is after you test, right? What do you do? How do you build your portfolio for your account that's going to be running next week or next month or after a year, right? How do you do that? So what is your process again, right? What are those things looking like? Then your workflow. Do you have tools basically to help you navigate all these different elements of EA and bot trading, right? Do you take all these things, the EA and all these files that you gotta generate, do you take them and you do all of that manually, or do you have tools, right? That brings me to the next point, automation, right? So do you have tools that actually serve you and work for you that let you do all these steps fully automated? And then the last thing is the mindset. Are you stressing when you see your account, go to -2%? You would if you didn't know that your EA or portfolio could reach -2%. But if you knew that your portfolio that you built can get to -2, 3, 4%, you will be fine, because you would have said, hey, this actually repeats itself, right? This actually, I've seen it before, it's happened, usually goes there and then it jumps by 5%, right? So do you have the right mindset? Your obviously psychology, is that right? Do you have that correct? When you're running your portfolio, for example, if you're a weekly tester and when you're running your portfolio, are you looking at your account every single day, every single morning? The first thing you do when you wake up, you look at your account, you're like, oh my God, right? I'm 5 losses in, right? Are you one of those persons? You want to work on that. So are you looking at your impulses, right? A lot of these things no one really talks about, especially these, right? Because these are very important, because it doesn't matter if a bot or EA is running the account for you. If you don't have these things in place, guess what? You might freak out at the middle of the week and say, oh my God, I'm down 2%. I'm going to disconnect everything, disconnect the EA, disconnect the bot, cancel everything. We'll wait for next week. And guess what happened? If you would have stayed with that, right, because you tested very well and everything went fine, you would have ended the week with 3%. But because your impulses and your psychology is not there, you basically stop the bot from doing its work, essentially, right? That's his job. You're training the bot. The bot doesn't give you anything if you don't train it correctly, right? You can have the best bot, you can pay 10 grand for it, right? If it doesn't have the right strategies, the right structure, the right process to make a good bot, to make a good portfolio, it doesn't matter. You're not going to get anywhere, right? It doesn't matter how much money you spend, right? So this whole thing right here is very important. And notice how none of these words that I've said or things that I've shared with you include plug and play, because plug and play does not exist. Get that off your brain. It does not exist. It will never exist. It might exist for 1 week, for 2 days, for 24 hours, right? It might give you results, but sooner rather than later, it will give you bad results. And that's why people that know trading go away from it, because you're trying to find consistent in something that's not even built in consistency, right? So now let's talk about my process and kind of what I do basically on a week-to-week basis based on everything that I just told you, right? So what is the first thing I do? So we're looking at basically a trading week of Sunday to Friday, right? So what is my process, right? As a successful, EA trader for about 2 years now, what is my process? What has been working for me, right? First of all, on Fridays, it is my only day of testing. I don't go nuts about testing. I'm not obsessed with testing, right? It's just part of my routine. Every Friday, here's what I do. So you come in Friday, the market closes, right? People are going out of their jobs, people are going out to bars and stuff, right? So on Friday, this is what I do. I go into my app that I built. This has been in development for about 1.5 years already. And basically, I just put in all my strategies that I want to test for that upcoming week. So I import all the strategies, right? So I'll import my strategies, import strategies, and then I click start. Now, you might be thinking, what is this whole click start thing, right? The click start thing is just basically my software, right? So I'll just break down what click and start means, right? So when I click start, right? So I have I imported my strategies, then I click start. Now clicking start, what it does is it does a lot of steps, but I would just minimize it and kind of tell you what overall it does. So it takes clicking start, it takes these strategies, right? And then it overly tests them, right? So I'm a weekly by week kind of optimizer. So click and start, imports all my strategies and starts testing them in a 6-layer system, okay? So it back tests them, it forward tests them, it does out of sample data, it actually tests for data that's not even in the chart's history, right? So all of this is in my software itself. So it's basically preparing it for unexpected events. It's preparing it for things that has happened before. And it has a lot of trickery under the hood in order to make sure that from my imported strategies, what comes out at the end is the real deal. It is not like some fake stuff that's not gonna work, that's gonna blow my account and stuff, right? So every Friday, I basically click start and then I go about my day. On Saturdays, right? Saturday is the most important in my week. I review basically results, right? So I review results on Saturday morning. What does that mean? Basically, this software, after I click start, it pushes out an Excel sheet, right? And in this Excel sheet, it's going to be full of results, right? So I have to go and see which results are going to be beneficial for me that next upcoming week, right? After I've chosen those files, then guess what? I build my portfolio, right? Build portfolio. That is all I am doing next, building my portfolio. So what does the portfolio even mean, right? It's a group of files, strategies that were already tested, right, for me overnight. And now I can create a combined portfolio of these strategies and see how many losses they had consecutively. What was the drawdown like of all those things combined, right? What was the holding time of the trades, right? Did euro dollar lost more than gold, or what was kind of like, all these different elements. When I build a portfolio using my other tool, it's going to tell me all this information, right? So once I have all this information and I build my portfolio, I'm really happy. The next thing I do is plug them in, right? Plug in to MT5, which is where my accounts run, right? So plug it into MT5, and guess what? That is the end of it. That is the end of my testing period. Now, from Sunday, again, all the way to, let's call it Friday morning or Friday afternoon. What do I do from Sunday to Friday afternoon? Absolutely nothing, right? I work on creating content. I work on helping others. I don't look at my accounts. I don't look at what's happening. I don't look at like, oh my God, is my account in positive or is it negative? I don't look at that. Why? Because I have created this right here. These two things, these two elements right here have given me the confidence over the last 2 years to not worry when these days are happening, right? And that's very rare. You wouldn't really talk to many people that told you that. After I plug in my portfolio on Saturday, I disconnect from trading until Friday afternoon. When I look at my portfolio, I see the weekly results, right? Do I have to adjust anything? Is this strategy been underperforming the last 2 months, right? I don't make decisions week by week as far as which strategies have been working or not. I make decisions on strategy month by month. Hey, this strategy this month, like it's just really bad. So I'm going to remove it for now and try to find something better, right? What I'm looking for week by week is how's the performance? Is the performance decaying or is the performance going up? Obviously, we want it to go up. Or is it stale? I'm good with stale or going up. If we start declining, we have to look into different strategies, right? But the beauty of looking into different strategy is that when you import your new strategies on Friday and you click start, the software is doing every single thing for me. So on Saturday morning, when I'm reviewing results, it's going to show me which one have been trumping and which ones are just not even worth it, right? So this process might seem very easy, but in reality, there's a lot behind the doors than what you think, right? So just to recap, right? So just to pretty much close this video out, right? So what do you have to have in order to be a successful EA or algo trader? You have to have, again, process. We already talked about that, right? The first thing is the process. All the tools we talked about, the routines, all of that. Then you have to have the mindset. And then you have to have the routine, right? So all these three things is all you need to be a consistent, profitable EA or bot trader. If you have these three things, you're more likely to succeed than someone down here that has spent, $900 on the first blog, $500 on the next one, $200, $1,000, right? And all these are just plug and play, right? And they will never, ever achieve the consistency of someone that has a process, has the mindset, and has the routine. Because believe it or not, you have the same things as a manual trader. A manual trader spends hundreds of hours backtesting a strategy, which again, they can backtest back 2 years, 3 years. But does that mean it's going to work today? It might. It might, because they're able to observe certain patterns, right? And they have certain rules. You're doing the same thing, except this time in the process part, instead of spending so much time, you're letting a software and automation do all those decisions for you. So you don't have to spend that time because we're accelerating that part. And then just as a manual trader has the right mindset to stay out of trades, to go in, to take some risk off the table, to go break even, to not trade on Fridays, not all of that stuff we're removing, because we're letting, again, the process dictate which days are the best to trade, which sections are the best to trade, which strategies are the best, right? We're removing all of that, and all we really have to focus on is controlling ourselves, trusting the data that we're getting back from these processes, understanding that if the data is giving you the correct and most efficient strategies, then you should learn to trust that. And how do you learn to trust that? Is by repetition, by creating a routine, right? So the third point is routine. We're not going to test Friday and then 3 weeks from now, we'll just test Monday and see what happens. Or we'll test every month, right? You have to set up a routine. Just as a manual successful trader has a routine, you have to set up a routine, because again, this is trading. It doesn't matter if it's manual trading, if it's algo trading, if it's EA trading, you have to have a routine. So my routine of testing every Friday has allowed me to trust my workflow, to trust my process, and trust the data based on the results that I've given. Now, if you have these three elements, process, mindset, and routine, that is all you will need to basically be a successful trader. If you're interested in like checking this out, basically what I taught you today, I have it all basically laid out on a video of how the process or my process works, and the process that a lot of people have been using and seeing success with. I'm going to link below my website. You can check us out. You can see basically how the system works and how other people have been using it and getting results from it. So either way, if you found this helpful, make sure to comment. Let me know what you thought about it. And if you have any questions, you can always reach out to me. I have a link down below to our Discord where we help hundreds of people get results using algorithmic trading. So yeah, if you're interested, go check out the website, go check out the video of how everything just works, and make sure to join the Discord where we're helping out hundreds of people achieve consistent results, make their lives easier, and provide a structured process that they can just repeat and actually see consistent growth and profits. Check it out. Let me know what you think.